Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allow us to start right about now. It's 8 o'clock and we have received so many questions and we need to have time to answer all as we can. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening. This webinar is brought to you by Atara Solutions. My name is Grace and today I'm your panelist. Atara Solutions is an HR consulting and training company that provides total HR solutions to employers and employees. We also provide training services in HR, sales, and soft skills. For more information, please email us on info@atarasolutions.co.ke. Get It Right with Atara Solutions is a platform that seeks to demystify issues in entrepreneurship and employment. We do this in partnership with Zalego Academy, a software development and capacity building academy. They have a November intake for those of you who would like to polish your IT skills or even gain your IT skills. And now that we have working from home, you can actually start to learn things like building your own website, social media marketing, information security, among others. You can visit their website or social media pages to learn more, or you can email eric@zalego.co.ke. No, eric@zalego.com, sorry. Congratulations to Antonio Corey, Sandra Joy, who won the packages from Career Management Center, Posa Aswani, who won the gift hamper from Shishi Naturals, Whitney Joy and Lois Mongai, who won the offer from Sorel Laundry in Ruaka to get their duvets clean, Regina Motuko, who won a gift hamper from Tenu's Kitchen, and Kabara Jane, who won a gift from Pearl Radio. Whitney Joy and Kabara Jane, kindly reach out to me so that we can make arrangements on how you can collect your gifts. We continue to celebrate life and therefore the giveaways are still up for grabs. Our partners in November are Serenity Studios, who've been producing our videos. I hope you guys came across our video for this week. It's actually up on YouTube and all our social media pages. You can check out and see the amazing work being done by Serenity Studios. And you can check them out on Instagram, Serenity Studios. Pearl Radio 98.6 FM in Nairobi. Again, Pearl Radio 96.9 FM in Nairobi are Christian radio stations. They have been giving giveaways to our audience. Good Fortune Greens, a green grocery shop in Nanyuki, who have offered a grocery basket for our Nanyuki audience. JC Beauty, who is offering natural hair and beauty products to you guys. I am so excited. Congratulations, Mama, for launching your new brand. We are so rooting for you. Wild International, who have offered a free Skillerizer class. Skillerizer is a program, a flagship program developed for over 15 years that enables entrepreneurs to identify with the principles of becoming profitable in business. This program is delivered within 3 months, broken down to 4 sessions. If you want to know more about Skillerizer, kindly check out Wild International, and Wild is WYLDE, Wild International. And then we have Balcon Housing. Balcon Housing are Shamba people, Broti Maguta Maguta for the Kikuyus. Anyway, and they have gift hampers for you. So for those who are lucky to win something today, you're gonna win something from Balcon Housing. Tonight, as promised, some of you obviously will walk away with something. This is our 20th webinar. We started with how to register your business legally. And last week we were discussing succession planning. If you missed any of our webinars, please visit the Atara Solutions YouTube channel to catch up. And while at it, kindly subscribe. Next week, we shall continue with our family-owned businesses series. And the topic will be, do I work for or with my father or my relatives? As always, allow me to remind you why Get It Right with Atara Solutions started. Did you know that 22% of businesses fail in the first year, 30% in the second year, like all the businesses that started in January 2020, 30% will not see 2020 at the end of 2021, 50% will not get to 2025, and 70% will not see their 10th anniversary. And this is the narrative that Atara Solutions is driving to change. Kindly, today I am not your host. Allow me to pass the baton to the person on the driver's seat this evening and assume my position as a panelist. Kevin.
Thank you so much, Grace. I hope all our viewers are well, and we welcome you to join us today, being the 3rd of November 2020. As you've heard, I'm Kevin Adipo, a HR associate working with Atara Solutions. And today we have none other than the HR Q&A session. We are going to learn more as HRs on what we need to do and how better can we make our workplace. Besides which, how better can we make our employees enjoy their time with us? So today, to help us through this, besides Grace, who is the panelist, we have our new, one of our greatest HR, and I'll allow her to introduce herself. Anne, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Kevin, for that. Hi, everyone. My name is Anne Wamonje. I'm a HR practitioner. Actually, I'm a HR generalist. And I have done this this is nearly my 10th year. So it's been a while. At the same time, I'm also a HR student at the moment. I have been studying HR since 2008, to put it kindly. In addition to that, one of the things that I love to do is to share my knowledge. So I lecture at Moi University School of Business and Economics. And you can also check out my website, which is www.humanresource, human resource spelled with humor instead of human. So humor with N and resource.com. So thank you so much for that. And prior to this, Grace had shared with us some questions that guys had sent in earlier in advance. So I'll just get to it. So the first question that somebody asked was, should a cover letter be written or typed? Now, what I can say about this is that there are companies that specify that cover letters must be written. And at this day and age, currently, we like to type. But then for companies that are looking, there are people that are looking to see your handwritings. Like, for instance, if you will be in charge of writing the occurrence book, one of the things they will look at is your handwriting. So that is why they will ask you to write to have it handwritten. But mostly it is typed. Most applications are normally sent on email. So it only makes sense to type it. But unless the advert itself requires it to be written, please follow the instructions as given. The next question that somebody asked was, if a job advert requires certain years of experience, should I apply if I don't have the required years of experience? Now, this is tricky, but at the same time, if you are confident about what you can be able to do and you look at the entire job description as it is, then you can be able to make a decision on whether you can apply for the job or not. So your application should not just be based only on the years of experience asked, but on the entire job description. If you meet 70% of the requirements that are given there, then I would suggest that you make the application and you forward it. The third question was, how do I answer the question of how much do you expect us to be paying you? Now, there are companies that when they place adverts, they give a salary, the salary for the job, or they give a range. In Kenya currently, 60+% of companies don't do that. But they will always ask you towards the end of the interview, what is your expected salary? Now, for you to answer this question, first, there are so many factors that are considered before you can be able to say, I want 100,000 or 50,000 or 20,000. So, but then if you have been in a previous job, then you can be able to gauge how much your last salary was, and then you quote. Because I believe you are looking for another job because probably you want a higher pay. So you will be your quote will be higher than the current salary that you are receiving. If that is really not your motivation, then you can be able to ask them what their budget is for the position, and then you pick it up from there. Employers shy away from saying this until they get to the point where they want to make an offer to a potential candidate. But it doesn't stop you from trying to find out how much the job will cost, how much it will pay, and then you can be able to make a decision from that point. Now, fourthly, somebody wanted to find out, how do I make myself, how do I present myself to the employer to be attractive? Now, attractive here for me, it means different things. So if you're talking about physical attractiveness, then I think you mean, how do you dress up for the interview? And as we always say, you dress the part. And dressing the part means that you look at the job that you're applying for, and you only have one chance to make a first appearance, to give a first impression, sorry. So however, how you show up there will determine whether these guys are going to take you seriously or not. Now, the other type of attractive is attractive in the sense that I am the right candidate. Attractiveness at this point is about how are you able to express yourself. Given the job description that you had seen, do you fit whatever you are telling this panel? Does it fit with what they are actually looking for? So that is why you need to take your time in advance to be able to go through the requirements of the job. And as you do your research, or as you do your prior preparations for the interview, you make sure that you are answering the questions that would make you the right fit for the position, or the best candidate to be able to get the job. And my last prior question from the team was, which are the other short courses I can take as a HR undergrad to be more marketable? Now, currently, because we all have access to social media, there are online courses that you can be able to take. You can Google, just do a random Google, and it will be able to give you so many options. Grace had mentioned about Atara Solutions. Atara Solutions, part of the things they do is training. So you can reach out to them and they will be able to guide you on which areas they can train you on. Also, the Institute of Human Resource Management offer trainings and short courses. And aside from that, I think they have branched off to other organizations that do these trainings for them. And you are told that you earn CPD points as you attend these courses. Then we also, as HR people, we know about CHRP, which is the new girl on the block at the moment. So you can be able to register for that. I don't know if it is a short course, but it makes you more attractive, because as you look at it, most employers are currently asking about, do you have CHRP? Then as you're looking for these trainings, you need to be able to work on, you can train yourself on leadership, you can train yourself on communication, you can be able to also do something on emotional intelligence, just so you can be able to know how to relate with people, how to read emotions, how to use certain emotions in different situations. So the 5 questions that were asked, I think I've captured them. So I'm going to give that back to Kevin again, and then we proceed from there, because after that, we'll be able to take questions that are being sent in now and answer them as we move forward. So thank you guys for listening, and Kevin, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Anne, for the insight that you shared with us. And among the audience, please, if there's any question that you feel you can ask, and so that Ms. Anne can share with us on what she feels is right to be done, please feel free to send us those questions. And as we move forward, just to remind all our audience is that our giveaway questions is still on. And we will share with you on how you can go ahead and respond to each as we progress in our webinar. Our next panelist is going to be Grace, who is going to guide us through again the questions that we received upfront before the webinar, so that as we wait for the other questions to come through, so that we can be able again to share with everyone on what we see is right as HRs. Grace, please.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you, Anne. And just to top up on what Anne has said, I've seen Dr. Claire is asking whether you need to have a degree or a diploma to actually take on CHRP. And my answer is no. If you're a startup, you can, but please remember this is a professional course. And therefore, you would need to have something else for it to work best for you. It's like doing CPA without a degree in or a diploma in something else. At some point, you'll need to do another course to actually make yourself better. So the next question that came in was, how do I recruit the right person for the right job? Now, I have about 7 points for this one. Number one, you need to actually get your job description right. If your job description is correct, you also need to define the expectations of the position. So if you're looking for salespeople, what are they coming to do? Because different organizations have different duties and expectations for each. And therefore, it is important that your job description is clear and your expectations of the positions are clear. Number two, understand. Now, this is now to the interview level, where you need to understand the individual aspirations during the interviews. This is where you sit with the individual and see where are they going, where have they come from, how has their journey been, and how can they come in and make a difference in your own organization, or are they able to fit? All right. So are their personal goals in line with what you're trying to achieve as an organization? The other point would be match your desired skills and that of the candidate. Now, for example, if you're looking for someone who has very good communication skills, someone at a managerial level, somebody at a supervisory level, there's some leadership skills that you're actually looking for. Please make sure before you engage these people that they have these skills that you're looking for. And then have more than one form of an interview. Don't just rely on face-to-face. I remember my very first interview. Normally I'm a very confident person, yeah, so to speak, but my first interview, I freaked out and I think I forgot a lot of stuff. Everything I wanted to say on that day, I wasn't able to. So it is important that you have more than one form of interview, and also make the interview interactive. Don't be harsh during interviews. Make your candidates comfortable, so that then they are able to process the questions you're asking and answer you. Also include things like written interviews, aptitude tests, among others. And please, there's a bad habit that has come up with a lot of HRs. You're making people do proposals on end, and then it's a proposal after another, after another, after another, and then you send them regrets. Kindly note, you go as you shortlist your people, please, so that we stop wasting other people's time and also increasing the levels of frustration with our employees, and job seekers. Now, the other thing is consider culture fit. Culture fit is whereby you cannot hire, for example, if you're a Christian and you're looking for a job at a mosque, it may not work because of your beliefs. If you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim and you're looking to work at, for example, an AIC church, it may not work. So you have to consider culture fit. And then there are people who, your values are very, very important. Do you share some of your values, the organization values, with that of the person you're recruiting? The other thing is hire someone who you could work for. I like this. Hire someone you could work for if roles were reversed. So if I'm coming to work for you, would you work for me? You know, if you find someone who you can work for, then my friend, you have landed a gem. And then the other thing is time. I know, and most of us go through this, those people who do recruitment, we find someone says, I need someone and I need them to report on Monday. And this is like Wednesday. And probably this is you're looking at people who are, people say like finding salespeople is very easy. It's not. It's one of the hardest positions to find the right match. It's not like going outside and collecting someone and saying, here is a broom, here is a mop, clean for me. It is not. So kindly allow for time. Look for someone and allow yourself to actually get the right person. Now, of all the points, one of the most important ones is your instinct, your sixth sense. If you are doubting a candidate, please don't go correcting yourself. Cast your net wider. Because if your instinct is telling you this person is, there's like a something, please don't assume that. Make sure that your instinct is correct, that you feel that this is the right person. And again, you'll be able to get the, those are the factors that you need to put in consideration or to employ to get the right person for the right job. The next question we received is, how do you keep employees motivated? This is a very, very wide topic, but I'll summarize it. So for you employers, and I think if you followed my session on why employees leave, you can find some of the highlights, but I'm gonna summarize them. So the first thing you need to do is provide supportive leadership. This is where you have respect. This is where you communicate. This is where you have a human side to your leadership style. All right. The other thing is empower the individuals. Allow the people to make decisions. Allow for mistakes. Empower people to own the jobs. Empower people to actually perform what they came there to do. And then create a positive environment. An environment that allows for professional growth. An environment that allows for interaction. An environment that allows for sharing of opinion. An environment that makes one person want to wake up and actually go to work. An environment that allows for teamwork. And that's my next point. Encourage teamwork. Allow people to work together, because we always say all departments are actually interlinked. If you're in HR, you must work with people in, you must work with your CEO, you must work with the finance people, you must work with people in operations, manufacturing, blah, 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 blah. Everyone is dependent on the other. So it is important that you form an environment that encourages teamwork. The next thing is recognize and reward. And I know the next question is on rewards, but you need to recognize good work and punish the not so good work. All right. So the next question was, what makes a good reward system? Now, this is my opinion. There's something we call in HR total reward approach. And I think in my practice, that is what I have seen work. I'm gonna use, there's a time we had a salesperson and we booked them a flight to Mombasa, a holiday, an all expense paid holiday to Mombasa with their family. And then she came to me and she was like, Grace, what are these things you're giving me? Why couldn't you have just given me money? And I was like, oh my God. You know, by the time we came out of that meeting, we were so excited. We are giving this person an all expense paid holiday, but to them, that does not work. Now, it is important that you mix your rewards so that you can reach to different needs for people at different instances. For example, the needs I had in my 20s are not the needs I had in my 30s, and not the needs I had in my 12, when I was 12 years. So it is important that you mix your rewards. So you can use things like professional development, for example, sending people for trainings or allowing them to learn. You can have benefits. We had Mr. Waso who taught us about retirement and pension schemes. We have compensation. I mean, pay your salaries well and pay on time. And then work-life balance, very, very important. And especially during this COVID season, because there's a lot of mental burden that we are carrying around. So the next question is, what is an HR audit? What is an HR audit? What is its purpose and what does it entail? Wow, that's a long question. Okay. An HR audit involves taking an intensely objective look at the organization's HR policies, procedures, and strategies. It's basically digging deeper to your policies, strategies, how you do your HR function, so to speak. And HR, I mean not a HR office, the human resource as a whole. Now, what is the purpose? It is to protect the organization. You actually do an audit to mitigate risk, to confirm compliance, it's a point of improvement. And then again, we do it for employer branding. You actually know how to position yourself in the market as the best employer. Now, what does it entail? Well, there are four ways you can do HR audit. Number one, you can audit for compliance. This is where you focus on the laws and regulations and, like I said, the policies, just to confirm that, for example, your NSSF is being paid, your NHIF is being paid. If you're exiting employees, you're actually following procedure, documentation in the files, blah, 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 blah. And then best practices, we also audit for best practices. You find you find ways to improve because HR changes. It's a very dynamic function, and therefore you need to see where are you currently and what are the current best practices, and are you actually compliant, or are you practicing best practices? Now, we also do it in terms of strategy. We check your strategy. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the system, processes, to determine whether they align with the HR department and the organization. Are you linking your HR department to the organization goals? So, and then you have the function specific, which focuses on the HR function. For example, payroll, we can audit your payroll, we can audit your performance management, we can edit your records, among other things. So that is what HR audit entails. Maybe the how is we come to your organization, we look at all the things I have mentioned, and then we write your report. Now, the next question that came in is, what is the purpose of a HR manual or handbook, and what does it cover? Hey, these questions were many. Anyway, it can be helpful to think of your employees. Okay, here's the thing. There's a very thin difference between a manual and a handbook, but there is actually a difference. Okay, so a handbook has the what, a manual has the how. Normally, a manual is used by managers and supervisors and CEOs, people in charge of the other employees, and therefore it includes the how. So, for example, there's some people, and it has become a common practice nowadays, where you have the HR manual and the handbook together, because, for example, you're talking about your policy on recruitment, and then you include things of the how do you carry out recruitment for specific positions. So what is the purpose? It gives you an approach. It's very systematic into how you can handle your organization HR function. And then it also helps you to implement policies and also ensure that your policies are adhered to. And then it ensures that your organization's employee-related practices are fair and consistent, so that you don't have someone accusing you of favoring Anne, and Anne pours water and she's forgiven. Kevin pours water and he's fired. So it brings about consistency and fairness. And like we say in HR, it has to be just and fair. That's it on manual. Now, the next question is, in light of the new normal at the workplace, what are the clauses that need to be added to cover the parties in policies or employment agreements? Now, COVID-19 or the pandemic and what has happened the better part of this year has brought out a new normal. And therefore, with newness, we must change a few things. And part of what we are saying as HRs is that we have to have a clause on force majeure. I had to go to class to learn how to pronounce that. And then we need to have a clause on what we're doing right now, which is pay adjustments. So you find your people who have been going for unpaid leave, not unpaid leave, sorry, people on half pay. We have other people on piece rate. So all the pay adjustments, you need to prepare a policy on that. And please note, let me just take this opportunity to highlight that all the policy changes are because of the now and any future thing that may happen, occurrence. So again, you need to add, I've talked about force majeure, I've talked about pay adjustments, I've talked about working from home. The other thing is measuring productivity. You have people in the office, you have people at home. How do you measure employee productivity? And then there's also withdrawal of benefits, sending people on unpaid leave, change of working hours. We have people who, we have people who've been allowed to report from 9 and leave at 3. You remember when the first, around April and May to July, we had very few people going to the office, and plus we had people leaving as early as 2 o'clock. So such things are supposed to be covered, and at what point do they apply to, do they need to take place? And then change of working hours, I've talked about that. Then transfers and relocation during that period. If you needed people to move from Eldoret to Nairobi, how do you go about it? And then social distancing is also something that we need to create policies for and adjust our employment agreements. This is where WIBA and OSHA come into play. Like before you needed to consider how people are sitting in the office. Right now, it's actually worse because you can't have people, the way we had desks with people facing each other. Currently, you need to make sure that there is social distancing. So those are some of the things that we need to actually change and create policies for. Obviously, there's the COVID-19 policy, which everyone should have on what happens, how is the company protecting its employees, and then what happens in case there's a positive case. And then there's this issue of a common flu right now, where if someone has a common flu, they're being stigmatized and stuff like that, or they actually are required to sit at home. So how do you determine when and how? So those are some of the adjustments that we're making in terms of policies and contracts. Now, the next question is, are there any annual HR returns required to be made to the government? And if yes, please give details. Yes. We have the National Employment Authority, where we are required to file our returns, so to speak, every end of year. I think this year they had a deadline of 30th March. So normally they write what is required. You can go to their website, and NEA is applicable for organizations that have 20 and above employees. It's not for everyone. I'm almost done. When seasonal staff on short-term contracts take a rest day after continuous 6 days working period, are they entitled to be paid for the rest day? This is assuming they don't report to work, whereby OT will be considered. Now, I thought to answer this question in two ways. One, are they casual employees you're talking about? And casual employees are employees whose wage is paid at the end of each day. Now, these people are entitled to one paid, a day off, a rest day. However, this rest day doesn't need to be paid because a casual employee is paid after every day worked. So in the evening at 5 or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, you pay them, they go. If they don't feel like coming tomorrow, they don't owe you anything. If they come in, well and good. So those are casuals. Now, If you're on a short-term contract, for example, of 3 months, please note that I'm your full-time employee, even if I'm on a 3-month contract. Now, if I'm on a 3-month contract, you have employed me on a salary for 30 days. Please pay me for my salary for 30 days. That is what is required of me. I hope I have summarized that as much as I can. So next question. What avenues are available to employers planning to shed numbers due to a bloated workforce? When can we use redundancy as an option with the Employment Act and labor laws? Now, when it comes to reducing the number of employees because of, bloated workforce, for whatever reason, there are different things that you can do. The first thing is you can introduce pay cuts. If you are not able to pay, you can decide, you can call your people for a meeting and you guys can decide, do we reduce their pay by whatever percentage that is actually sustainable and choose to keep all employees? Or do you have people on unpaid leave? Can you send people on unpaid leave? Or do you prefer that you engage these people on piece rate? There are people who, this is the work that you need to do. Can we agree on a payment structure? And from there, deliver, your work is paid, finish. Those are called piece workers. And then when push comes to shove, we always say, this is normally the last option, is you can declare redundancy. Now, you also asked, when can we use redundancy as an option within the Employment Act? There are different approaches to redundancy, but the most common would be if you're closing shop, for example, maybe because of financial challenges, you may be downsizing. You also may be reorganizing. For example, back in the day when we started using computers, some people were not able to upgrade themselves to be able to use computers, and all the machines, the typewriters were declared obsolete. And therefore, if you don't have these skills, then unfortunately, your position is declared redundant and someone else is hired for that position with the skills that are required for that. And then there is mergers and acquisitions and loss of assignments. And this, for example, with security industry, when we lose assignments, sometimes your staff are not absorbed by the incoming people, or they don't even want to be seen. So when you lose your assignments, let me use assignments, then you can declare redundancy. And then what HR metrics can HR be reporting daily during to the management? Okay, wait, sorry. Which HR metrics can a HR be reporting daily during the management morning briefing? I am required to give metrics every morning, which is a bit hard on my side, and I appreciate your help. Now, I actually had to confirm this with my Professor Aguda. He's listening. He's a pro in HR metrics. So, and we agreed that you can report about TAT because different organizations operate differently. So it will really depend with your sector. But things like TAT, for example, if you had 3 disciplinary hearings, how long did they take? And what is your target? Are you supposed to finish your meetings within 1 hour? Was that the case? Were you supposed to send out, for example, your people were handling an assignment out of their office? Were they able to deliver on time? I mean, turnaround time is what you're talking about. You can also include things like absenteeism. Who did not come into work? Who came into work? Were they on time? Who is on sick off? Who is on paid leave? Who is on unpaid leave? Are there incidences? This is happening also in security and manufacturing. For those people who have night shifts, were there incidences at night? What has been reported? Among other things. I hope I've been of help. Kevin, back to you.
Thank you so much, Grace. And I'm really glad to report that we have so many people who are participating in this webinar. I love the fact that we have HRs who are also in the participant list. Thank you, Mr. Nelson, for agreeing that HR audit is aimed at giving assurance on the HR processes, just as mentioned, and the policies and activities. Assurance is to create confidence that is to all that the company plus and or the employee. We have a few questions from the group, and I'll just like to share with Miss Anne one of the questions that are really streaming in at a crazy rate, so just bear with us. Miss Anne,
Yes.
there is a question here from one Jacqueline, who would wish to know, do we have an appropriate time for issuing a show cause letter to employees? That is, if an employee works both at night or during the day.
All right, just to answer that, depending on your working hours, because if you say it can only be issued during the day or it can only be issued at night, working hours vary. So if you guys operate during the night, then that is considered your legal working hours. So there's no problem with issuing a show cause why letter because it is during working hours. Unless now the employee has gone home and now you are sending them a show cause why letter outside of the working hours, then now that would be a concern. But whether it is day or night, is it within the 8-hour shift or the 12-hour shift that you guys are having at that time? So night or day is neither here nor there. It is about what are the official working hours of the company.
Great. So besides that, we have other questions. I'll just read them as you answer, Ms. Anne. The other question is, how can I outsource a HR service and what service can be outsourced successfully? I believe that is from a HR practitioner.
All right. When it comes to outsourcing of HR functions, currently there are different organizations that provide those kinds of services. Just to mention but a few, I want to go back to Atara Solutions again. Then we have companies like Brighter Monday, we have corporate staffing, we have Flexi Personnel, all those HR companies that are there, consultancy companies. So some of the functions that you can be able to outsource include recruitment. There are people who do not have time to be able to sit through an entire recruitment process. And I can tell you, recruitment is tiring and it takes a lot of time. It is actually very exhausting and it will take you out of your normal working hours or your normal duties to be able to deliver. So what companies do is that they go out and find somebody who can handle the entire process or up to the point where they can now do the final interview together with the employer. So that is a recruitment as a function that can be outsourced. You can also be able to outsource your reward or compensation system. There are, and I want to tie that to payroll. There are companies that have been able to bring in consultants to handle that aspect. So what they do is that instead of them paying the employees directly, they have a consultant or an intermediary who they send money to and handles all those as far as payment is concerned, making sure that statutories are paid on time, tax returns and all that stuff. So that is also a function that you can be able to outsource. You can also be able to do outsource training. So instead of doing in-house training, you can find somebody which is also a very good thing, especially if that is an expert. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Anne. The other question here is, what are some of the legal implications to an employer who outsources staff to a third party in grievances relating to a place of work?
Now, the legal implication, if I outsource employees, let's say you're outsourcing cleaning services. So it means that the cleaners that are working within my premises are not my staff. So should there be an accident that involves this cleaner, the insurance will not be paid by myself, unless there are other special circumstances involved. But the person whom I have, or the company that I have outsourced from, should be able to handle that. At the same time, if there is a disciplinary issue, if this outsourced staff were to steal from me, depending on the nature of the theft, the best or the worst I can do is probably call the police. But when it comes to handling the entire disciplinary process, that is entirely dependent. I mean, it's upon the company that I have outsourced that service from. So I'm just going to give those two examples so you can be able to get how the outsourced company works with the client that they are providing the services to.
Oh, great. During this COVID-19 season, I believe many organizations have had to either put their employees on unpaid leave indefinitely, cut down their salaries from 20 or up until 60%. That is until business picks up, change the contract from permanent to staff, permanent staff to contract indefinitely. And this is some of the things that employees have had to go through, or rather they've had to manage so that, again, they can keep and maintain their jobs. So some of the questions that are coming in through that is, what is the implication of each of these moves, especially legally?
Come again?
What is the implication of each of these moves, that is cutting down their salaries, staff going on unpaid leave, and changing the contracts from permanent to contract? How is this implication, especially legally, affecting employees?
All right. One of the things that Grace has mentioned prior to that is the new normal that has happened, and now we are readjusting. You know, one thing is the employer is able to reduce salaries. If they cannot afford it, then, or send you on unpaid leave, then you cannot just stay there and wait. You understand? So that is why the employer is in a position to be able to reduce salaries and at the same time send people on unpaid leave. Sometimes they will require to be able to move contracts from permanent to sorry, there has been blackout where I am, so I hope you can hear my voice.
Yes, we can.
Sorry.
So you guys, I hope you can hear my voice as I speak.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is the process has to be consultative.
Oh,
if you
great.
are reducing salaries and you are sending people on unpaid leave and you're not informing them and you are not following the due process, then legally speaking, these employees can be able to file a case against you as an employer and take action. But if it is consultative and things are put down in writing for purposes of reference, that makes it easier. So even in future, as business begins to pick up, you can be able to revert back to the normal operations, depending on the agreement that you had prior to these changes happening. Yes, Kevin.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Grace. There is one question here that I feel needs to be answered, and you might be the best person to answer. Okay. That is from one of our participants. When an employee is caught stealing the company items and you ask them to report for a hearing, they agree on message, but they do not show up. You call them, they do not answer your calls, and they go offline. How do you handle that? And the second question is, when you're on your leave days and you fall sick, how can you handle the same?
Okay. I'm seeing that is from Jacinta. Jacinta, and to anyone tuned in tonight, let's train ourselves to handle employee disciplinary issues with sober minds. Now, when an employee is caught stealing, first of all, that is an offense. We call that gross misconduct. Have you done your investigations? If you call them for an hearing and they have not come, that is not on you, so long as you have evidence that you actually call them for the hearing and they did not show up. So normally the best practice would be write to them again and say, we invited you for a hearing this and this such and such a time, you did not show up, we are giving you another date, and for which if you do not show up, a decision will be made in your absence. So if again they don't show up, you can go ahead and dismiss them, summarily dismiss them. If they come, then you continue with the hearing. Now, how do you handle leave days when some people work from home? Now, this is the new policy. You have to sit as an organization and agree, this is how we are going to handle this, because working from home is also working. Just because you're sitting at home, now let's not confuse, there's working from home and going and working in shifts, where, for example, one works for 1 week, the other one does not work for the next week, and the other person comes in the week after that. There's a difference between working from home and working in shift. So you may need to clarify that, but if they're working from home, they are working. So as an organization, you need to sit together and agree, to what extent do we allow for leave? Because don't forget, leave is a right, but then you are allowed as an organization to actually custom make how you're going to count the leave days. Now, in terms, you had asked something on sick leave. I'm seeing a lot of questions Q&A. I think there was something like that.
Yes, the participant was asking, when you're on leave, when you're on your leave and you fall sick in the process, how do you handle the sick off?
Now, here's the thing. Now, this is now part of the reasons why we actually need policies. That's why we create policies, because the law is silent on such matters. It is now upon you, because we have some organizations that say, just because you're on leave does not mean that your sick leave waits. You know, you fall sick on today is a Friday. If you fall sick today and you get 2 days sick off, the rest is actually, sick off is supposed to allow you to recuperate. So if it gives you 2 days, it gives you 2 days. It doesn't matter whether it is on a Sunday or on a Monday or on your off day. But now there are some different organizations that have policies that are different. Some say that if you fall sick during your leave, you actually extend your leave you can claim your sick off as away from your leave. So yeah.
Yes, and I believe because of time, just to give a reminder to all the participants is that we have sent emails to your emails. That is to all the audiences. Kindly give us feedbacks on how we can better our webinars. And the successful winner will be the one that responds effectively and efficiently on time. Just last but not least, on to you, Grace, we have one last question here from an anonymous attendee. How often should an organization review its structure? I believe that's based on their policy. But you can help us.
Now, is it a review? Is it structure in terms of organization structure, or is it policy? Now, if it's an organization,
it's structure. Sorry.
If it's an organization structure, it's as often as changes occur, but this is normally based on the strategy. When you're coming up with the strategy, you define, these are the number of employees we want, and therefore you're able to have a structure that covers that period. However, if changes are coming, it's not a static document. You can update it as often as possible. And there's one question, Kevin, if you would allow me. Sandra has asked one of my favorite questions. I love working with, I mean, industrial relations. If the organization has a CBA, is it necessary for HR to come up with policies? I say yes. I say yes because some of the CBAs are very, very specific to what their needs are. They're not holistic. So you need to have policies that expound more than what is in the CBA. and especially policies and procedures. There's one CBA I looked at, and they don't cover things like NSSF. They just picked what is in Section 35 of the Employment Act and placed it there. As to how to go about it, it doesn't exist. So it is important that besides having a CBA, create your own policies. And what? Okay. Anne would like to answer this question live. Okay.
Which question, Grace?
If an employee is served with a show cause letter during hours which are not working hours, should this employee have to respond to that letter?
Now, what I would like to say is the moment you have been served with a show cause why letter, you need to be able to respond to it. If it came to you during non-working hours, please respond to it during working hours, because any show cause why letter gives you a timeline as to when that response should be given back to the employer. So if they send it at 9 p.m. and they want you to return it at 3 a.m., then that is a bit suspicious, especially if during that period you are not working. But again, a show cause why letter gives you timeline. So please make sure that you respond, because if you fail to respond, the employer will assume that you have not taken it very seriously. And now they will start a new process of disciplinary from that point on. And there's somebody who was asking about leave. When I am given leave, I mean, the provision of 7 days leave with full pay and another 7 days leave with half pay. And that brings it to 10.5 days. So assuming I take days from Friday to Monday, does it mean I have a balance of 6.5 days? Now, I would like to clarify that leave days is something that you do not accrue. It is something you earn because you have fallen sick. So assuming that you do not fall sick in the year 2020, you cannot come back in 2021 and ask your employer, you see, I have 7 days full pay and 7 days half pay that you did not give me last year, so I want it now. That is not how it works out as far as sick leave is concerned. So you earn it, you can take it should you fall sick. Okay, there are so many other questions that people have raised that there are a lot of it. So I think Grace will be able to work out on how to be able to respond to them. But then there is somebody who's asking, I have sent so many CVs in search of a job, but I am never called. Is there something wrong with my CV? I will not say yes or no, but sometimes you need to be able to give your CV to somebody who can look at it from a professional angle and advise you on what to be able to adjust, and that is a CV review. At the same time, are you applying for every single job that you come across? Because there are people who will apply for general manager position, they want to apply for a sales position. If they hear HR position has come up, they want to, you cannot be a jack of all trades. So you need to be able to pick jobs that you think suit you. And as I said before, do you meet 70% of the requirements of the job? Then you place the application. Otherwise, you will send so many applications out and you will be so frustrated that by the time you are done, you do not even want to hear about employment. So look at those two items and then move on from there. So Grace, Kevin, back to you guys, and unless there's anything I need to add.
For that person, kindly reach out to us. I can be able to look at your CV and give you feedback. It's actually a service that we provide. We can upgrade your CV. So kindly reach out to me, and I think you all have my email addresses. It's normally on the flyers, and we can be able to advise or coach you further. And there is one question that I want to take before Kevin announces our winner for today, and this is on when you sign from Terry Mokora. When you sign a contract after you are hired, then it reads after 6 months you will be permanent employee. Are you supposed to ask for a new contract, or how will you go about it? Terry, allow me to answer you straightforward. If you are, if it reads permanent employee, please don't go looking for trouble. It is written that you are a permanent employee after 6 months. Please let it stay like that. unless they communicate after your first day of the 7th month and nothing is said to you, please note that you are a permanent employee. And these are things that HR practitioners need to take note of. When you give people contracts, note what is written in those contracts, because employees need to read. And if you're being told that after 6 months you are permanent, you are permanent after 6 months. Maybe they were avoiding having to go back to you and writing another contract and blah 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 blah. So you are a permanent permanent employee. You don't need to go looking for a new contract unless there is an agreement that had not been honored. So that one is, yeah. And then I think the last question would be, what benefits are payable to an employee who has been declared redundant? Now, legally, besides what other companies can give you, you would be entitled to the number of days worked. You'd be okay. Before you declare a position redundant, you need to follow the right procedure, because gaps in your procedure can cost you. And if you want to declare redundancy and you don't know what to do, you can always reach out to me. I'll be able to give you the guidelines. So what you need to follow the right procedure. There's a procedure that every employer needs to fulfill before actually carrying out the redundancy. Now, after when you start on with the redundancy, here are the benefits. One, you are entitled to the number of days worked, that is your pay. You are entitled to leave pending, whatever days you had not taken. You are also entitled to severance pay. Please note this is severance pay and not gratuity. Now, severance pay, according to the Employment Act, is at 15 days per year worked. Please note again, it is per year worked and not per calendar year. So this is anniversary year. And then there's notice period. If the employer is not letting you serve notice, you're entitled to notice period. There's some employers who actually now go over and above and give you a package, an attractive package that includes probably like 3 months notice pay, or another thing. They can combine severance pay, and on top of that, give you gratuity. They can also decide that for the next 1 year, we are going to also pay for your medical, or the remaining days of your medical until we are renewing for the other stuff, you're also entitled. So the legal ones would be your pay, which is for the number of days worked, your notice period, if they are not allowing you to serve notice, and then your leave accrued and severance pay, which is calculated at 15 days per year worked. However, some CBAs have different provisions. So you need to read the act combined with the general order, combined with your policies, combined with your sector order and the CBA. I think so. I think, Kevin, it's 9:03.
Yes, for sure, definitely. Because of time, today our top 3 winners who participated on the survey that we sent out on email are Brenda, Mr. Kiprotich Evans, and Mr. Joseph Karume. That is because they participated first when the survey were posted and were emailed to them, and efficiently and effectively as expected. The next the next award will be going to our 50th, 60th, and 90th participant, just to ensure that we motivate them to participate. We motivate everyone to participate more often. So because of time, I would like to appreciate our partners. That is...
1 second, Kevin.
Yes.
The giveaways for the night, the giveaways today are from Balcon Housing and from Pearl Radio. Balcon Housing is providing a gift hamper to our lucky winners, and Pearl Radio is also providing a gift to the winners. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Grace, for putting more clarification on that. And this informative discussion was brought to you by Atara Solution, that is a HR consulting firm and training in partnership with Zalego Academy, which is a software development and capacity building academy. Next week, we continue with family-owned business series working for and with my father. This has been very, very insightful, and we hope to have more questions and answer sessions in the near future. Thank you very much, Grace and Anne, who are our panelists today, for the information you've shared with us. Thank you, Zalego Academy, that is our IT partners. Thank you, Serenity Studios, for the video of the week. Thank you, Good Fortunes, Greens, JC Beauty, Wild International, Pearl Radio, Sorel Laundry, Tanu's Kitchen, Career Management Center, Shishi Naturals for the giveaways. Special thanks to Mr. Simon Washira, who is of Think Out Limited, a strategy and communication company. Mr. Alex Mwangi, who is our legal expert. Thank you very much, our audience, for tuning in tonight. It's always a pleasure. Do not forget to tune in to Pearl Radio 96.9 FM in Nairobi. My name is Kevin Adipo, an HR associate with Atara Solution, and I have been your host. See you tomorrow, and from us, have a good night.
See you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, that is our tomorrow.